and it looks like the 25th Amendment is making a comeback, so let's talk about it. First of all, this is the very beginning of the Constitution here. It has Article 1 at the top, and then we have Article 2, but we only have one section. So we have to go to the next page of the Constitution to look at Article 2, which sets out the executive branch. All right, and here's page 2 of the Constitution. Article 2 is what we're talking about. At the very top, if you don't get a magnifying glass, you can tell that we are looking at Article 2, Section 1, Clause 6. And this says, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his unalive resignation, #Nixon, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office, the same shall devolve on the Vice President, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, unalive, resignation, or inability, both the President and the Vice President, declaring what office shall then act as President, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a President shall be elected. So that's what we used until Kennedy, and there were some kind of unspoken policies that were done when we had to transition to a different president who had passed away one way or another while in office. So we've got these unspoken rules and this loose idea of what succession is. It wasn't working. So after the assassination of JFK, Congress was like, we need to get this sorted out. That's why we've got the 25th Amendment. Now, the 25th Amendment sets out the succession if there's something wrong with the president. I think it's really good to note that we've got a total of 27 amendments. So the 25th Amendment was really one of the most recent amendments that we've added. The 26th Amendment sets out you just need to be 18 to vote. And then the 27th Amendment has to do with salary caps for Congress. But we're looking at the 25th Amendment today. We've got 4 sections here. First section says, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his unalive or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Step number 1. Section 2. Whenever there's a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress. So majority vote, not supermajority. Section 3. Whenever the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. So if the president, let's say, gets SHOT'd, we'll need to go in and have some surgery done so he can say, hey, hold my beer while I go in and have the surgery, and then I'll come and take it back from you later. And then section 4, whenever the vice president and a majority either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, so we're talking about the cabinet here, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. So it's possible that they could all get together. And this wouldn't be a coup. This would be just section 4 of the 25th Amendment and be like, he can't do it. We need someone else. And Congress can be like, okay. But thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers or the executive department of such either body as Congress may by law transmit within 4 days to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue. So they can say he's, out of his mind, and then he can be like, no, I'm not. And then they can come back with another letter and say, yes, he is, as long as it's done within 4 days. And then if the Congress, within 21 days after receipt of the letter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is requested to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote, which is a supermajority, both houses, that the president's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall continue to discharge the same as acting president. Otherwise, the president shall resume the powers and duties of his office. So vice president and the cabinet are like, he's out of his mind. The president's like, no, I'm not. They write a letter back and say, yes, he is. Then Congress takes a few weeks to think about it and they make the decision. And based off of their decision, the president will continue going on as he was, or the vice president will come on in and take that position. So there you go. There's a brief overview of the 25th Amendment, which was desperately needed, of course, after JFK, but we've not needed to use it other than a few little bits and pieces with Nixon and Reagan. And after that amazing explanation, I forgot to include the second piece of the 25th Amendment, which you can see up here, and then you can see who signed it in. So just wanted to add that.